Hi, friends. Welcome to the Mobile Bev Pros Podcast, a podcast dedicated to providing mobile bar and event professionals with the information they need to succeed. I'm your host, business coach, and founder of the Mobile Bar Academy, Sarah Murphy. In each episode, the Mobile Bev Pros team will bring you industry experts, information, anecdotes, and opinions with the goal of assisting you in building a profitable, sustainable, and successful business that supports you in creating wealth. I'm excited to share with you today's episode, so let's get started. Welcome back to the Mobile Bev Pros Podcast. It has been a hot minute. A matter of fact, I did the math and I think it's been 5 weeks since we posted our last podcast episode, which was about the Crowned program that we were launching, that I was, I'm actually going to be making that mistake a lot. Brings me to my next bullet point prior to me wanting to actually address my next bullet point. But if you've been paying any amount of attention to our socials or our emails, you'll have learned that after over 3 years, my nearest and dearest bestie, partner in crime, and chief alchemist of the Mobile Bev Pros team, Dawn Christian, who is also my co-host on this podcast for all of those years, has spread her wings and fled the nest. And we've had some people kind of reach out and ask, like, oh my gosh, are you girls okay? You know, the dynamic duo splitting up, what happened? Absolutely nothing happened other than this was always the plan. Dawn is absolutely amazing in all ways, and she offers a very specific medicine to the world that just could not be fully expressed within MB.P. And over the years, we tried a number of ways to carve out a space and a place for that magic, and it just wasn't as potent through the lens of MB.P. as it is when she's allowed to be center stage and to do it in a way that feels most aligned for her. And do I miss her in the day-to-day? Absolutely. Am I still all up in her Telegram all day long? I am. We are good. MB.P is definitely feeling the loss of her genius, so it's a bit bittersweet, but I'm very excited to see what she's able to do now that 100% of her focus is on her magic and her great work in the world. So I'm very excited for her. If you miss her too, like I do, you can hit her up on her website, dawnlchristian.com. You can catch her on Instagram. She's also prolific on TikTok. She's out there in all the places. However, I have been a team with Dawn for a long time. So I'm going to be tripping over my words quite a bit here, as I have a habit of saying we, and now it is just I for the time being. I have had some people reach out and say, hey, are you looking to replace Dawn? And I am not at the moment for a variety of different reasons, but not least of which is I'm really trying to figure out what is the future of MB.P. I'm not going anywhere. I'm committed to this community. I love this community. It brings me great joy to educate, to coach, to guide, to be a resource for the people in this industry, and not just the mobile bar owners, but the vendors and the partners that seek to support the people in this community. I'm not sure I can even really imagine a world where I am not supporting the Mobile Bev Pros community. And so whatever the future looks like, it will definitely still look like me here on the podcast, even if that's alone. I was actually thinking about it, and the last time I recorded a solo episode, I think was like episode 2, 7 years ago. So this is new. This is a whole new world. If you've been around the Mobile Bev Pros community long enough, we formed in 2017, you've seen a lot of different iterations, and this is just more of that. As businesses withstand the test of time, they also are forced to evolve and change and accommodate the industry and the people in the industry and the lives of the founders, such as myself. And so this is just more of that. So the future of MB.P, I'm not sure what it looks like. I do know it exists, in case anybody was worried or afraid as to what would come next for the community. And I don't have total clarity around that looks like yet. But I do know this podcast isn't going anywhere, although I don't know what the cadence is going to look like. I don't know what the format is going to look like. I do love having people on the show, though. So if you yourself, or if you know somebody who would add value to the community, have either knowledge, expertise, insight, perspective, information, whatever it is that you might be able to provide to the community at large, let me know. Otherwise, it's not like I have a shortage of things to share. So if you are not opposed to me doing maybe shorter episodes that have less conversation, but maybe some pontification, but I have been deep into the study of what is my personal next evolution in the business coaching and education space. For those of you who did listen to the last episode of this podcast, we talked all about the program Crowned, and we're about halfway through the execution of that program. If you are one of the almost 100 people who got into that free program while it was available, I would love to hear how you are progressing through that and your thoughts on it. But as I mentioned, we are halfway through the delivery of the real core content of that program. And that program was extracted from the book that I wrote months ago now that has, listen, the journey of writing a book. It wasn't until after I wrote the book that I talked to someone who said that, she had heard that the first book that you ever write, you're supposed to finish and then throw directly in the bin. And I was like, oh my gosh, but I'm so attached to the book that I wrote and the information is so good. But as it's been going through the editing process, I realized I hated it. It's not that the information's bad. I just feel like I should have gone about the delivery of the information a little bit differently. The structure of the book should have been different. The content of the book could have been communicated differently. And so I too threw it straight in the bin, much to my editor's dismay, and am in the process of reworking the book as I go through and record the content for Crowned, which is a major lift. And so that's where a lot of my time and energy has been focused when not doing the work of executing the programming within Mobile Bev Pros. So if you're like, Sarah, where you been? That's what I've been doing. I've been both creating the Crowned program, building the plane in flight, as they say, and also going back and rewriting the book, Becoming Irresistible, the Desire Blueprint for Mastering the Premium Market. And the other thing that has become really, truly obvious as I've been going through the process of delivering Crowned and writing this book is that I am absolutely in love with buyer psychology and behavioral economics. And that is going to drive everything that I do going forward. So if you were around the Mobile Bev Pros community because you loved the checklists and the worksheets that I would produce on occasion, those have all, as far as I'm concerned, those have all been created. I'm going to be spending my career and all of my energy and attention focusing on helping small businesses learn how to master the premium market through the client experience and the client journey, utilizing the tools of buyer psychology and behavioral economics. I could learn about this stuff and teach about this stuff all day, every day. How the mind works and how it influences behavior, the neuroscience of it, everything about it is just so yummy to me. I will live here. And so that going forward, Mobile Bev Pros is going to enjoy all of the infusion of everything that I learn and execute. And already my clients within the accelerator and my one-on-one containers are reaping the rewards of this work. I had one client that came into my coaching container back in February, and she was really struggling to close events at that time. And she was really concerned because she had a really strong 3 to 4 years prior to 2025. And now she was getting leads, but she wasn't closing them. And so I took a look at her process from the lens of behavioral economics and buyer psychology, made a bunch of recommendations, all of which she took, and now she's closing higher ticket business easier and faster than ever without even having to hop on a phone call with them. And that's merely from optimizing that buyer process in a way that evokes emotion, encourages people to take action, and aligns their fears and desires with the transformation that they're seeking. And when I see the theories that I study start to work that way, it lights me all the way up. And I would much rather live there than in spreadsheets. Even though I'm very good at spreadsheets, I feel like I've created all the spreadsheets and all the calculators that need to exist for the mobile bar industry up until this point. And now that that's done, it's in the academy, it's all there to be used, I can really start pivoting my attention to this area of business that I think just absolutely transforms one's ability to succeed. And that's where all of my excitement lies, and that's where all of my energy lies. And so that same energy and passion for this segment of the business is going into the book, which I don't have a release date on. I will tell you that it has been quite the experience writing a book. I actually never thought that I would write a book. I thought that it would be not like, I just don't have, well, I love to consume long content. It's extremely painful for me to produce. And so it has been a journey, one of discipline and one of frustration, but also one of just an odd amount of pride that can only come from doing something that you didn't think you could do, but sticking with it and doing it anyways. So stay tuned for additional information on that. At some point, I will have information as to how you can access it. But in the meantime, you can access me. So if you would like me to impart my knowledge and expertise here on your business so that we can optimize your buyer journey and client experience from fascination all the way through fangirl adoration, let me know. That is available. The last thing that I wanted to address today is definitely not the sexiest of things, but it does look like all of the tariffs are going to be enacted as of August 1st. And this will likely impact every mobile caterer. I just wanted to kind of give a high level of what you should be doing about it. So what we'll probably see when the tariffs are enacted is we'll start to see an increase in costs on a lot of the things that we utilize to run our business. You'll likely see higher costs on things like equipment, so espresso machines, blenders, bar equipment. A lot of that stuff, if not all of it, is made overseas. And so we're going to have to start paying more to get those shipped into the United States. The other thing that we'll see increased costs on are anything that comes from China, which a lot of our disposable stuff is. So cups, straws, lids, other disposables. Some of our specialty stuff, such as teas, the specialty juices like yuzu, any syrups that might come from abroad, those are going to see an increase in pricing as well. And so when those tariffs are enacted, it increases costs on the suppliers that are importing them from other countries, which they'll just pass along to the consumer. And so on our part, what we want to see is one, an audit of your suppliers. It is possible that some of the things that you get from your suppliers are produced domestically. And so like when possible, do some price comparison to see if those domestic options are more favorable, as long as you're not sacrificing quality, but you really shouldn't be. The one thing that I will say here is that historically, if we were to look at what happens when tariffs are enacted, the concept there is that it will make it easier for domestic suppliers to compete because it's typically less expensive from a labor perspective to manufacture things outside of the United States. And so that causes their prices to be lower. And so then they come into the United States and they're cheaper. And so the idea there is that increasing tariffs will make the foreign goods more expensive and therefore more competitive with domestic alternatives. Historically, though, what we've seen is that domestic alternatives then feel like they have the ability to increase their prices as well so that they have more profit and more positive margin. So we don't always see domestic suppliers as being cheaper than international ones when tariffs are enacted, but it's worth looking at your suppliers anyways to see if domestic alternatives are less expensive. The other thing that we want to look at is potentially bulk buying. So if there's something that you use a lot of, whether it's coffee beans or cups, things that might benefit from the discounts that come with the bulk buying, now's the time to look to see if you would benefit from buying some of those items that you know that you'll use and that will keep. The other thing that I would recommend doing is communicating with your clients that any proposals that you currently have outstanding, that after August 1, there might be adjustments in rates. So if they want to benefit from the current pricing structure that's within the proposals, now is the time to pay your deposit and pull that across the finish line, because after August 1, you'll be reassessing your costs and your pricing. If you are not sure how directly your increased costs will impact and influence your end pricing, and you're in the Academy or the Accelerator, head over to the money module within the Accelerator, within the Academy, and go to, I think it's the bundling versus packaging lesson, and look at the pricing and packaging worksheet version 3, and you can put all your costs into that worksheet, and you'll see, based on what you want your margins to be as well as your PETA tax, you'll see how your end prices will be impacted based on the various different costs of your consumables, your bar equipment, your larger operational costs. So if you're in the Academy or the Accelerator, I highly recommend using that worksheet to input your costs so that you can use math to calculate what your rates will be post-tariff once you know what the costs of all your goods are going to look like. And the last thing that I have here is that if you feel any sort of way about these tariffs, as small businesses in a local environment, we are members of a community that really rely on us, and we are members of the greater business community as well. So local communities and business communities. And so if you feel any sort of way about the tariffs and its impact on your business, don't be quiet about it. Share it with your local lawmakers, share it with the associations, the events associations that you might be members with, because associations are formed so that they have bargaining power on behalf of the industry as a whole. And so definitely use your voice and make yourself heard and advocate for your business and your community. Okay, enough of the really unsexy parts about running a business. I want to thank everyone who continues to follow along the Mobile Bev Pros podcast and Mobile Bev Pros as a whole for supporting both me and Dawn over the years, and for continuing to reach out and share how much this work means to your business and to you personally, as we really continue our mission, which is to have small business owners in the mobile beverage space thrive and build industry-leading mobile bars. It's my greatest honor to continue to support this community in doing that. And I very much look forward to starting to solidify a plan as to what this is all going to look like going forward. But one thing is for certain, those that stick around and continue to learn with me will benefit by mastering the premium market through the use of behavioral economics and buyer psychology. Thank you so much, and I look forward to catching you on the next one. And that wraps up today's episode. I hope it was valuable. I would love to hear from you what you thought. You can drop me a line at hello@mobilebevpros.com or find me on Instagram @mobilebevpros. If you're looking for more valuable mobile bar related content, we have a website full of it. You can find us at www.mobilebevpros.com. And I'd love to see you in our Facebook community, also by the name of, you guessed it, Mobile Bev Pros. Thank you for joining me today, and until next time, cheers.